Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Blacknificent Show. My name is Kia Monama, and I am your host tonight. So, the world is constantly evolving, and that means that people globally are constantly being put under pressure to meet these new standards. New trends set new standards, and that's just the way it is. That's the rule of the world. But that leads us to where we are today. Even Black beauty standards are constantly changing. So today I brought these two very define again what Blackness and beauty means from a young Black girl's perspective. As we know, the Blacknificent Show is a safe space, so no answer is wrong. And we're all just here to have a knowledgeable conversation on conversations, on topics rather, that affect us in our daily lives. So I'm going to hand over to my two guests right now to introduce themselves so I don't speak for them. Let's start with Rosin.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Untitled Chapter. I'm 19 years old and I live in Florida Glen in Johannesburg.
Perfect. Tati?
Hello, everybody. My name is Tati Shomoyo. I am 19 years as of recent, and I stay in Pretoria East. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So I wanted to start you guys off with young questions just to understand the types of women that you are. We'll start with you again, Roslyn. How do you wear your hair?
I tend to wear my hair in my natural form hair, like my afro, or in braids. I normally just stick to simplicity.
True. I've noticed this. I've seen this. And you, Tadisha, how do you wear your hair?
I have short hair, very, very short hair. Do styles, dye my hair and everything. But right now, my hair's not in a good state. So I wear wigs quite often. I alternate between different types of wigs as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. And do you wear makeup?
Yes, I do.
Do you wear makeup?
Yeah.
Why do you wear makeup?
I feel like I'm very interested in the art and what makeup is for what it is. As pure as it is, I think it's art. I think it's a way of expressing yourself, expressing how you can transform your face from one state into the other. So that's why I wear makeup.
I've never heard such an intricate answer on makeup before, but I'm gonna keep that in mind this time. Rosalind, do you wear makeup?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
No, I do not. Like I've tried it before. It's fun to try it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather stick to lotion and Vaseline because my skin is very sensitive and makeup irritates it. So.
I hear you. Do you enjoy dressing up? And what is your style when you do dress up?
Not really. I wear what I feel. I wear what I'm in my mood that day.
Yeah.
And it depends on who I'm seeing, where I'm going. So yeah, my style is more laid back and chilled and simple.
Tatisha, what about you?
I have a very trendy style. I wear what is in fashion at that time. I also wear what could be of season, like you wouldn't find me wearing a dress in winter. So yeah, I have a very trendy fashion sense. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Tatisha, we'll start with you. Does your physical appearance mean anything to you?
Yes, it does.
Why? Let's get into that. What is it about your physical appearance that means something to you?
Okay, I feel like so much so how you feel is also based on how you look. I depend a lot on, I take care of myself, from my face to my body, to my skin routine, to my hair and everything. So I really do feel like how I look says a lot about how I'm feeling. It's a really good feel-good type of feeling, type of thing. So yeah, I think that's why I really do care a lot about how I look. Yes.
Rosalind, what about you?
To a certain extent, I do care. For me, it's just about the way I dress and maintaining myself. I think it's important to take care of yourself because when people see you, they see you, like they don't know you. So they judge you based on your assumptions, based on how you look, and they make assumptions and conclusions about you. So in maintaining myself and how I dress, I find it very important. But like physical features, I can't really change much. I am who I am. You take it or leave it.
I mean, that's a strong answer. In your younger days, both of you, in your younger days, I think we all had like a young and naive definition of what beauty was. So what was that definition when you were younger? And to you again, Rosalind.
When I was younger, my definition of beauty was mainly what you saw on TV and what was advertised. Like that image of the tall, petite, white blonde lady that you'd see. And I would be like, okay, that is beauty. And I would look at myself and be like, I don't necessarily look like that. Not even close. So that used to be my definition of beauty. But as I grew up, I became more aware of who I am, of myself and the society that I live in, that it doesn't really cater for people that look like me and that have the body types and all of these other aspects. So it started to become a journey of self-love, learning to love myself and accept myself without needing the confirmation and acceptance from other people besides myself. So self-love has become my new definition of beauty, learning to know who you are and owning who you are, your flaws and everything included.
Interesting. I think I wasn't expecting such an intense answer, but I'm glad you brought it down to that. What about you, Katisha?
Okay, so you've always known that I've always wanted to be a model, and it's something I've always aspiring to do since I was very, very young. So when I was young, it was always a thing of you need to be skinny, you need to have hair, you need to be, and for me personally, I struggled a lot because all of that actually dictated my life to a certain extent. And I remember there were times I used to go on diets at 13. I used to do these weird things. And then the more you grow up and the more you realize and the more you actually interact with people who are in those scenes, is the more you see that it is actually not a reality, So you have to come back into reality. And yeah, I used to always think that my definition of beauty when I was young is that I need to be tall because I am tall. I have to be skinny. I have to maintain the skin color. I have to, So yeah.
Okay. Well, I wanted to understand also because I think everybody has their own personal definition of what beauty is. According to you, what was your determinant? Like, what was your determining factor of what's beautiful? Like, what measure did you use to determine beauty? We can start with Patricia this time around.
Okay, I think I always measured beauty by the body type, BBW, beauty also in the media is determined by how big of curves you have, how big bum you have, how light you are, how great you can style your hair, how long your hair is, how silky it moves. So I think all of those were factors that I used to think defined beauty. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I think you're the first person that I'm talking to that said they saw thicker women as a beautiful woman, because for the longest time it was always petite women. What about you, Rosalind?
I definitely think that beauty in the fashion industry dictates the standards of beauty nowadays, because celebrities look at them as well and we look at celebrities, so it's like a whole chain of who is running the main thing, and it's them. So we look at celebrities, what's in and what's out, and we tend to follow that, especially as the younger children and stuff. They look at all of those things and they think those are their role models. So they look at them and be like, okay, I need to look like this, and if I don't look like this, then it's a problem.
What social media apps do you guys use and how often do you use them? I want you to go into this fully. We'll start again with you, Tatisha.
So I have WhatsApp, obviously. I have Twitter. I have Instagram. And let me see. Yeah, those are the 3 ones I have used on a daily basis. Yeah. My favorite has to be Twitter, though. But yeah, Instagram here and there, WhatsApp every day, obviously for communication, and yeah.
What about you, Roslyn?
Same, just WhatsApp and Instagram and Snapchat sometimes.
Yeah.
How often do you use them? Like on a regular basis, every day?
On a regular basis for me.
Yeah, every day.
Mm-hmm. Does the content that you see, the reason for me asking this question is because I want to understand, does the content that you see online, so from your friends on WhatsApp to the people that you follow on Instagram, does that content that you see influence what you think you personally should look like? We'll start with you, Roslyn.
It does, in a way, because you look at all these things, you look at the attention that some of these people get, the followers that they have, the amounts of likes that they're getting, and you're like, okay, this person has a thin waist, they look this way, I don't look that, and look at the attention and the validation that they're getting from people, and it makes you look yourself and be like, okay, maybe if I did look like this, I'd get more attention and validation and you know all of those things from people. Yeah.
Okay, what about you?
I like what Roslyn said with attention and the validation. For me, it's a thing of I use my social media platforms to put myself out there, you know, and often most of the times I put myself out there so that I can gain maybe work or maybe some type of job that I can rely on for now because I'm still studying and everything. So I think also when you look at people who are like content creators and everything, you see how well they're doing. And then you're attracting, you're like, but I'm doing the same thing too, but I'm not getting those things, you know? So I think on my I'm trying to get to that as well, you know? So yeah.
I hear you. I think I'm glad. I think this is one of the main reasons why I had to have young people on the show was because I wanted young perspectives, but we'll get into that later. Does anything else other than your social media accounts influence what you think you should look like as a growing woman? So anything from the people in your lives, just the things you're exposed to, does anything else influence what you think you should look like? Let's start with Teddy.
Yeah, I do. The people I'm around, the people who I meet on a regular basis, there's a lot of pressure. There's so much pressure when you walk out, when you go to the mall, when you go to parties and everything. There's so much pressure to look good, you know? And I get that it's how you put yourself out there as well. But I do feel like without the media as well, people ourselves, we do like demand a lot from other people in terms of how they look and how they should be held. Yes.
It's the first time that I'm hearing someone admit that they actually put that pressure on someone else too. What about you, Roslyn?
Yeah, definitely it's true. I think it's in the people that you spend most of your time with. Because as humans, we tend to adapt the characteristics and the, you know, all of these things about them because they influence you in such a big way. And also in the area that you grew up in, I think that plays a big role. Because for me, I grew up in I went to a predominantly white school and lived in a predominantly colored area. So I was never really surrounded by people who were in touch with their blackness and loved who they were as Black people. So it was a difficult journey for me to learn how to love myself that way.
That is deep. Traditionally, as you've seen, even with like your cultural attires, women are supposed to be good looking. Like women have to be aesthetically pleasing. This is society, this is the world, everything around us makes sure that women know that they have to look good. Was this pressure something that you felt from your family and your immediate surroundings? So was there ever like somebody, and I mean like actual people, cheering on the fact that you have to look good? And when they explained it to you, what was the reason? Like, did they ever say like you have to look good because of A, B, and C? Let's start with you, Roslyn.
Well, for my family, we weren't not really that traditional, but it was more of a sense when I would go to visit my grandmother in Zim. It was a thing of covering up that was like a big issue because me living in like a Western more society, you know, you just wear whatever you feel like, and most of the stuff that we do wear are like open and whatnot. But then when I'd go there, it was like the pressure of you need to cover up. People don't need to see you that way. You look like, can't really say the word, but you look like people who are trying to sell themselves. So it was always that pressure of like, oh, if you don't dress this way, then you are this.
I hear you. What about you, Tati?
I feel like with me, it became a personal thing because my stepmom is an image consultant. So there was not necessarily pressure, but she has a title to uphold, and as her children, we also have to look good because, we are the kids of an image consultant. So I think, yes, I have, since a young age, I've always had to look good because it was always a good teaching. My mom also told me that if you look good, maybe you can do certain things. If you do this, you do that, So I really do feel like, yeah.
I think I'm glad that I got the responses that I got from both of you, because the difference between us, or the three of us here, is that I would always, and it would always be a joke from my family, but it would always be a matter of them saying like, you need to look good so you can marry well. You need to look good so you can attract a good man. You need to look good because you can't drag our family name down. Like, you need to look good because you're a representation of us. It was never a matter of you need to look good so that you can feel good, or you need to look good so that you look good for yourself. So I think I definitely wasn't expecting the responses that I got from both of you, but it's good to know that there are different reasons why there's this pressure on all of us, which is still unnecessary. On to the next question. I think one very big and easily controversial aspect of our identity as Black people and as Black women is our hair. Do you think that as Black women, it's important for us to establish our afros and our natural hair as a part of our identity? Or is it just an aesthetic to you? Is it just something to play with, something to have fun with? Is it not that serious to you? Let's start with you, Tati.
I think if we had to be quite honest, it was never a big thing to have an afro or to have straight hair. Maybe it was a thing of, you'd probably get this better if you had straight hair, if you were like wavy and everything, but it was never really a big thing until I don't know when, where now all of a sudden Black people, it's always a thing where we have to grow our hairs for it to be an afro. Now relaxing hair, it's out of the norm. It's out of, so I really do feel like there is a lot of pressure on how we wear our hair that determines a lot of our beauty. And I don't know why, but I really do feel like there's this big thing about having an afro these days, And there's nothing against having an afro, but I think Black people want to define themselves as having an afro. And that's how I personally feel. Or maybe it's because I have short hair and my hair will never grow as an afro. But I think there is a lot of standards on how your hair should be, what it should look like. And maybe that's why we have so many different types of wigs, if you look at it that way. Because we're trying to cater for each and every single person. We're trying to cater for Black people who want straight hair. We're trying to cater for Black people who want a bob today and tomorrow want to wake up with a 10-inch long wig, So I think there's just so much pressure. And I don't think it's necessary per se. But I do like the fact that we are embracing ourselves as Black people with kinky hair. I like the fact that it's a thing now, So yeah.
Okay. What about you, Roslyn?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. My Wi-Fi disconnected me.
It's okay. Let me just repeat it for you. I was saying that like a controversial aspect of our identity as Black women is our hair. And so I was asking, do you think that it's important for us as Black women to establish Black hair specifically as a part of our identity? Or is it just an aesthetic to you?
To an extent, I think it depends on the type of person that you are and what you choose, what you identify yourself as. You choose who you are and what you are. Personally, for me, and my afro is quite like a big deal to me. Not that big, but it's like something that I do identify myself as. Because for so long, I was one of those kids that used to straighten their hair every day. And it became an obsession to have my hair straight because I wanted to look like my white counterparts that I saw at school every day. So for me, my Afro is embracing, like I'm embracing my Blackness and who I am.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I wanted to touch back on something that you said, Tatisha, which was that this hair thing really came out of nowhere. I think one thing that we need to understand, and this is what I wanted, this is why I asked these questions about the hair thing. I think the hair thing became very popular now recently because as Black people, we are redefining who we are, you know. Nothing, not to be funny, but nothing about straight hair is natural or African for us Black people. So the whole hair thing is, I don't think it's something that came out of nowhere. I think it's something that, I mean, it is kind of sudden, but it's Black people wanting to rebrand themselves, if we should, you know. I think it's just Black people choosing to have full control of their hair rather than constantly, as Roslyn is saying, the pressure that she had and the fact that she wanted to look good with straight hair. Now that she's learning that this Black hair is actually a beautiful thing also, it's people embracing it. But I also understand where you're coming from because people then shove it down your throat when you choose to relax your hair or wear a wig. Now it's a problem. Now you're not Black enough and now you're not, you know. And that's why I had the two of you here, because I wanted us to establish the different ideas of what your hair is, but also understand that each one is okay and each one is still Black. At the end of the day, we're all still Black in our own rights, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that. One of the things that we had in common, and I don't know if you two ladies know this, but the things that we all, like all three of us here, I know I went to school with you, Ted, but then I also went to school with you, Roslyn, at a different point in time. The one thing that we have in common is that these schools that we went to, they had very little regard or tolerance for Black hair. And it seemed like they were making rules to kind of suppress our hair, to keep it shorter, to keep it under control, to, you know, our hair was always a problem in these schools. So why do you think, Tatisha, this is relating to what you said about it being sudden. Why do you think that our generation of scholars and students were so offended by these attempts to calm us down and to change and alter our hair? We'll start with you, Russell.
I think it also plays with your hair being an identity. Some people, their hair is their trademark. It's a part of who they are. So being told like you need to fix it or to change or alter it is kind of being told there's a problem with you that I don't agree with. You need to change that and fix that so that I feel okay with you being here. And I think that's where people do feel offended because you're told, it's basically indirectly saying lessen who you are and become less of what you are.
Mm-hmm. What is your answer, Tatisha?
I think with this question, we need to go back because I think, hence I'm saying it started out of nowhere. But I was thinking about it now and I'm like, it started out of nowhere because, you know, back in the day, these schools were created and there was no way you'd question the rules. There was no way you'd go and be like, ma'am, I don't understand why this is like this. I don't understand why this is like that. And I think because with our generation, we're more outspoken about these things. We saw these things and we're like, no, not now, not today. So I think that's why I'm saying it started out of nowhere, because it started out of the fact that our generation genuinely is starting to take out all of that racial things that were so normal. Because if you ask our parents about what type of hair they wore, what type of hair they'll tell you, no, it's normal to do a straight back. It's normal to do Benny and Betty, you know? So now I think it came and it sparked because of the fact that we are very vocal about these things. And I think that's also why we define our identity with our hair so much so, because back in the day, it had historical greatness, but it wasn't so celebrated. And I think that's why we are celebrating it so much now. That's why so many people are like, my hair, my identity, my hair, my this, my hair, my that. So I really do think that's where the issue came out from, these schools, man.
Yeah, I think like the one thing that we needed to understand was that these rules were created not necessarily to keep us down, but they didn't actually cater for us. And now we're in a space where we understand that we're a big part of this country, we're a big part of this population, and we're not going to take certain things being done and not have an environment that caters to us. We're paying you, you should cater to us, you know. And apart from that, we are people living in this country. We deserve some type of respect, you know. So I think that's definitely where it comes from. Furthermore, there's this obsession in the world, and this is like the one that really irritates me, is that the world is obsessed with making a black body types, as Roslyn was saying, that they're constantly advertising a slimmer woman when in comparison to a thicker, full-figured woman. You know, your skin tones, lighter skinned women are embraced more than darker skinned women. And so forth and so forth. Your hair, your attire, there's just things that cater to a whiter image more than they do to a blacker image. So are these things that you see, do you notice these things happening around you? Are these pressures that you're aware of? And how do you resist, and how do you like keep your blackness intact and not tap into that and not get into that urge to become whiter, if I may? We'll start with you, Tabi.
I think for me, it is very noticeable. It's been noticeable from a very young age. And I have friends who are more melanin-based than I am, you know, and they tell me about their troubles and they tell me about their struggles. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, I actually don't go through such things, you know, and I think that for me has taught me to be a very, very understanding person. And I think that's where we need to understand is that we are all not the same. We are all not made up of the same DNA. We're all not made up of the same type of parents, you know? And I think more so over, it's a thing of the more you get in touch with yourself and who you are, is the more you can easily block out all these negative influences that influence us to be people we're not. And with the body type thing, I am one of those people who struggled a lot, and I still am, unfortunately so, struggling with body image issues. And at my big age, I still feel like I could do better for myself so that I could feel better, you know? But I know deep down inside, it's not only a thing of feeling better, it's also a thing of fitting in. So I think most over, there's so much work that needs to be done in and out of our societies. And also this thing of brands accommodating certain types of body types. I feel like most so over, if I had to be quite honest, it is really much so a publicity stunt. And it's just the thing of, no, we're trying to do this so that we're trying to accommodate, but we're really not, you know? Slender hands still get better privileges than we do. Hands with big bums still get on music videos and all this stuff. So I think it's just like we speak and we show action, but it's not enough, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Powerful stuff. What about you, Roslyn?
And I definitely agree, especially with that whole publicity stunt thing. There was like, I don't know when it was, what year it was, but there was a moment where people were advertising bigger women. Like it was like a thing that you would see everywhere on social media. And like now it's like, where is that same love that you were giving to bigger women? But it's still that thing of, if you don't fit in that category, you're still going to be a social outcast. You're still not going to be socially accepted. So there are still a great deal of people that still experience discrimination, even in our own Black community, especially with the issue of colorism. That happens quite a lot.
Well, how do you overcome the urges? Like, how do you? Because I mean, you're not a light-skinned hand, you know. So how do you overcome these urges? You specifically, Roslyn. How do you stay away from like listening to them?
It's difficult. Like I won't lie. You still look at yourself and be like, oh, I wish I looked like that sometimes. But as Tati said, it's about staying true to who you are and realizing that you are fine just the way you are, without having these other interferences.
I think one thing you need to change that wording is, you're not fine the way you are. You are perfect the way you are. That's the way it is.
Yes.
Perfect. Do the words natural and African resonate with you guys? is it important to you to actively portray this in your physical appearance? Like, off first bat, does it matter to you to look African and natural? We'll start with you, Roslyn.
To a certain extent, it is part of my identity, being African and being natural. I can't change that. It's the features that I have. It's the way that I look. And yeah, that's it, I can say.
Yeah, Tati?
I think it's a very hard question because I ask myself, how do you make yourself black? How do you make yourself African? Do you preach it? Are you? And people get really shocked when I tell them that I actually have family from Zimbabwe, you know, and even my surname. And when I say I'm Tatisha Moyo, they're like, something is wrong, you know. So I think it's hard for you to wear traditional clothes every day. You can't do that. It's partially impossible. But I think moreover, we shouldn't take this thing of your cultural identity and putting it with your everyday life, because I feel like you don't have to prove to anyone who and what you really are, you know. And we are in the modern times as well. Hence, I'm saying it's kind of hard to actually show what culture or what traditional group you belong to. So with me, I find it very hard to actually like every day instill that type of element into my life. Yeah.
I think the second part of my question was, is it important to you guys to show this in other aspects of your life? Because if you can't show it in your appearance, then it must be coming through somewhere else, you know, like either in your personality, your language, your this and that. So I think we've established from your answers right now that you guys, as much as you identify as African people, it's not necessary for you to walk around with a tattoo on your forehead and prove that you're African to other people. It's more like an inner identity, which is, I think that's good enough. As to, because I called you two girls because you're two different girls and I wanted to hear two different opinions. Is it important for you guys to establish an identity? And now we're talking in the full sense of the word. Is it important to you to establish an identity outside of your appearance, or are the two interlinked? We'll start with you, Roslyn.
Like I said before, I think your identity is what you want it to be. And it is a number of types of things. Your identity is based on like your cultural background, where you grew up, the people you surround yourself. It's many aspects that make up your identity. It's not just your physical appearance that makes you who you are. It's also the character that you have, you know, what's in your heart, and not necessarily what's outside that everybody sees.
Yeah. What about you, Tati?
There's this thing I always live by, is that the impression you make on people is not how you look like, but how you act towards them, you know. And so much so, I do believe that being a cultural person, being a very traditional person, it's great, but where you come from, who or what your parents have taught you, how they did this, and how you are carrying it out to the world is what actually matters. And we see so many people who come from great families, but they're like such really, really bad people in reality, you know? So I feel like most over your personality has a lot to do with the thing that you leave with people, because people will always remember you by how you treat them, how you were around them. People will always call you for vibes if you're a great person, if you're a very communicative person. So yeah.
Okay, I hear you. There's two new words that I learned, surprisingly, when preparing for this interview, with my co-host, Austin. And the words are heterogeneous. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Heterogeneous and homogeneous. And basically, the question that you asked me was, is beauty heterogeneous or is it homogeneous? So what this means is there one way of being beautiful, or are there different variants, different versions? And I want you guys to answer this honestly to yourselves, not to me, but to yourselves, because we're constantly hearing people say, you know, everybody's beautiful, but do you honestly believe this in your heart of hearts? Tati, let's start with you.
I think so much so. beauty cannot only be defined by how you look.
Okay.
It's how you carry yourself, is how you act. It's the impact you put in the world that makes you so a beautiful person. There are so many celebrities you look at and you're like, she has such a beautiful soul. You know, you carry yourself and how you move with different types of people in different types of places. For me, that is a variation of being able to be beautiful, you know. And with me is that I'm so much so into this makeup scene and this wig scene and everything, because for me, I feel like it's a passion and that's where I'm headed in life. So with me as well, it's a thing of I always constantly have to pull myself back and be like, dude, the hair that you're wearing does it really mean so much to you? Does it really mean so much to people? You know, and sometimes my dad used to tell me as well, he's like, dude, the reason why I like you so much with short hair, because that is who you are and you're in your best element. So I think as much as we would like to say that, yes, beauty is how we look like, how we style our hair, what we wear, how high our heels are, I think so much so it's our personality.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm
What about you,
100% that beauty comes in different forms. It's not just one definition or one type of beauty. I believe that beauty is what you want it to be. You define what beauty is in your own life. And even if you look at different cultures, they have different like beauty aspects to them. Like I know in tribe in Myanmar, they have these neck rings that they put around their neck, their neck, and that they find that attractive. They believe that's what makes them beautiful.
Yeah.
So it grounds and where you're coming from.
Yeah. I think one thing that I had to learn very young in my life, and I always thank God that I was never born an insecure person. Like I've never been someone to feed into insecurities. But we always confuse, as women especially, we always confuse beauty to attraction. I think a lot of women measure beauty with the men that hit on them, or the comments that men leave, or like the people that you're interested in or pictures. I think it's really important if you are being told by your families to be beautiful and to look good, to marry you off or something like that. Because for a lot of us, what men think of us is saying that your beauty is honestly something that you need to identify with yourself. That's really powerful for me, because that's something that I'm glad we have young women saying today. One of the ideas of beauty that are constantly going in and out of fashion, like 1 minute light-skinned girls are attractive, next minute it's dark-skinned women, 1 minute it's the slim girls, next minute it's thick girls, you know, which is just proof that the world continues to objectify women. Like we're just an asset, where we're some product, you know, which really sucks. But I mean, why is it important to you, or rather, is it important to you, ladies, to be seen as a beautiful woman by the world? And why is this? Why not? We'll start with you, Roslyn.
I don't think it's not important to me at all. I think it's more important for me to see myself as a beautiful woman, because when you walk around out there, people have different eyes, and different eyes come with different opinions. So one person could see you as, oh, this girl's really pretty, and another person could be like, you are far from that. So the only opinion that should matter is your own, and you should see yourself as that beautiful woman without having the standards of others and expectations of society to live up to.
Powerful. What about you, Tati?
I think with me, I really do believe in the way you look is how you. No, I'm wrong. I really do believe that who we are is who we are, né? And how we look is something completely different. And I think that's always why we're up to standards. We're always trying to be up to standards, right? But I think with me, the problem with me is that it's hard not to, and I'm being very honest with myself right now, né? It's hard not to think that I'm not attractive to someone. It's hard for me not to not be attractive to people, and I'm being very honest that sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're like, I want to look good so that people see me and they notice who I am, So I think it varies for people like very differently. And personally, it's not that I'm struggling with self-image issues or I depend on what people think of me, but I feel like so much so how I look today is very, very, very outlined by the respect I get from people because of how I look, and I really live on that. And it's done great things for me. I don't want to lie as well, So yeah, if I had to be quite honest.
I think one important factor that I wanted to highlight in this interview, or the reason why I said I wanted to have young girls on this show as opposed to older women with established opinions, was that I wanted us to have a conversation as young girls, but for even younger girls, because I think we're almost at the end of our puberty stages where we're so worried about, and puberty and adolescence, where we're so worried about what people think of us. I think as younger girls, it's important to have these conversations to just remind them that there's really no one way to attention and validation can only get you so far. Like, it's really important for us as young girls to remind each other, because I think this is a conversation that a lot of us didn't have with our parents. Our parents weren't sitting us down and telling us that, listen, you're going to come into these pressures, but know that you are beautiful. So we went out and sought attention and validation in the streets, in our schools, this and that. And that's why girls find themselves with so many insecurities today, So it's really important to me. It's really powerful that you guys are highlighting the things that you're highlighting right now. In my last question, because I can see the time is almost there. For my last question, I wanted to ask, what do you think? What is your final word, basically? What do you think can be said to young girls who are trying to find their look, who are trying to find their way in terms of their appearance and what they think they should look like? Are there things that are wrong? Are there things that are right? Just what advice would you give to young women on their journey? Let's start with you, Kat.
I think what I tell my younger self personally is that it is great to be who you are sometimes. Sometimes who you are is what will put you further than the person who's trying to be someone else. And I think moreover, it's great to try to fit in, but it depends how you do it and why you're doing it as well. Okay. Because I think a lot of the times we do these things without any reason, without any solid foundation as to why and how. And therefore, that's where we go to extremes, So I think it's always a thing of do your research, make sure that what you want to do will fulfill your true self and fulfill your true happiness. Because it's sad watching people transition their entire life and they're still not happy, So it's a thing of, it's a personal thing of introspect and think what you want to be and how it's going to impact other people around you. And also if it's going to be a thing where it lasts. Because I think a lot of young people don't think of the longevity of everything that is happening right now, So we can have straight hair today, tomorrow we wake up and it's something totally different. So I think also it's a matter of doing proper research, and if it's something you want, then go out there and get it for yourself. So yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Rosa?
I think for younger Black women, like Black girls, it's important to know who you are first. Find out the things that you like, find out what you don't like, know yourself on a deeper level, and I think it's as cliche as it sounds, beauty really comes from within. It's about finding that light within yourself and radiating outside of yourself to other people and showing people that same love that you give yourself out there to the world. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. We all on our journeys. There's no cheat sheet to do it. It is the way it is. It's just about knowing yourself, finding out who you are, and accepting and knowing that you are perfect.
Thank you both ladies so much. Those are powerful answers. I think one thing that I wanted to add on top of what you guys said is that for young girls, and thank God, as I said, thank God I really didn't have insecurities growing up, but as young girls, it's important that they explore and they experiment, because you don't want to be 30 and still thinking about this is what I could have done back then and this is what I want to do now. You know, it's okay to experiment, it's okay to explore. People are always going to have opinions, but essentially your identity is what you make of it and what you want it to be. And it's really just okay to play around. Your physical appearance is just that. It's nothing that's forever. You're going to shrivel up and die one day. So it's really not a big deal. But just don't take things too serious. I think that's definitely one big thing. I wanted to thank you ladies. I honestly did not expect this interview to go this well. I mean, I called you both because I trusted you, but I wasn't sure. But I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad it worked out this well. I'm glad you guys gave me the responses that you did, and I'm really, really happy with your responses. Thank you so, so, so much. And I know everybody watching this interview is just as happy as I am. As we wrap up tonight's show, it's really important to me that we have this conversation, especially because young girls continue to struggle with insecurities and continue to bury themselves in these holes of pressure that we don't understand, that aren't even necessary. You know, as Black people, I think it's very important that we continue to take control of our lives and understand that we control the narrative. We are in control of not just our identity, but as far as our destiny. These are things that we ourselves, they are not written for us anymore. We hold control in our hands. So just make the most of it, make the rules as you go. Don't be dictated to by anybody else. And remember that being born Black is a beautiful thing in its own. I want to thank everybody for helping me today, to have the difference, everybody on the team, the ladies here. It's been a pleasure. To everybody watching, please share this video with all your little sisters, even the boys. Everybody needs to hear this. Everybody needs to be a part of this conversation and be reminded that they are beautiful. They're not just Black, but they are queens and kings and princesses and princes, and they are worthy of love, and they are worthy of feeling valued and important, not just for who they are on the outside, but who they are on the inside. Don't forget to tune in again next week, Sunday, for another episode of the Blacknificent Show. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.